and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule on Triller is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Mario Sugar Ray Favre Lopez.
Sugar Ray Favre.
He's done. No comebacks, right?
You gave two. You gave more on that later.
Yes.
Right now, quick shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier, Buffalo Knuckles, and
Tino on the edits. We've got so much to talk about this week. Let's begin. Round number 1 this past weekend at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. It was showtime. Triple header, junior middleweights in action. Danny Garcia with a majority 12-round decision over Jose Benavidez. Your scores 116-112, 117-111, and 114-114. Then junior welterweight, some controversy. Gary Antoine Russell with a TKO in 6 over Rancis Barthelemy. And then heavyweight, Ali Demirazin with a 10-round decision, pounding it out over Adam Kownacki. Mario Garcia Benavidez. You know what this is like? And I wrote this on snack.com for this week's K9 Corner. It was like 2 Priuses drag racing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy
I
right
went
there.
I went there.
Listen, full disclosure, I was watching UFC 277 live.
Good call.
Which was an excellent card. I found that ironic that Terrence Crawford and Mike Tyson were both sitting
They knew.
octagon side, which I thought was pretty cool. And I had to catch up on the fights later. Talk about contrasts with energy, entertainment value, the fights themselves. So more on the UFC later. As far as Garcia Benavidez, I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I actually thought it was a lot closer than a lot of people may have had it. Then the announcers I thought were lending itself to. I didn't say it was a great fight. I just said I had it closer than what I think they were alluding to. Garcia did more than enough to win. And listen, he was world champion for a reason. I like the way he picks off his shots, the way he stays composed, the way he counters off of the combinations that are coming at him. Benavidez, who looked huge in there, by the way, I thought had moments, but it was too few and far between. Now, granted, I don't know if it's because my man got capped in the leg and is not as agile, but there was a lot of the way he was blocking a lot of shots, but there was nothing coming back in retaliation. There wasn't enough. There wasn't enough punches being thrown from Benavidez to end up stealing rounds. Even though I thought he was doing a good job picking certain shots off, I felt, and again, I don't know if it's because he's somewhat hindered because of his lower extremities being what they are, but it's like he couldn't pull the trigger anymore. No pun intended for him being shot. I'm sorry. He couldn't pull the trigger. I wasn't trying to be funny. But you know what I mean? Is he couldn't let it go because I felt like, wow, he could really have some moments and success, and this is a winnable fight for him. But it was hard for him, I think, to kind of cut him off and let his hands go. There was a lot of, showing I'm not being hurt kind of thing. And I think he wasn't kind of getting hurt, but at the same time, I think judges can find that as a misinterpretation, like, okay, you're just showing you're not hurt, but you really are. Or I actually think he wasn't, but the fact that he wasn't answering back did him no service. So they were closer rounds, but Garcia was the busier fighter in what was somewhat of a lackluster main event. And I don't know if he's such a walkover fight at junior middle. I really don't. He looks like he's a little sturdier under his legs. I think he's still a fundamentally sound guy. But again, coming off the heels of watching UFC 277, I'm really glad I chose to watch that live.
Danny Garcia was steady. Benavidez was sporadic. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And if head nods and sticking out your tongue can hurt somebody, he would have killed Danny Garcia. That's the problem. There was a lot of posing, not enough punching. Danny Garcia is a solid fighter, but I still get the sense he's really a welterweight. And that's the problem.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I'm sorry. Well, let me interrupt you. That's another thing. Benavidez himself is really a welterweight. I believe he's only had one other fight at junior middle. So, again, we don't know what. Now, granted, he's a big guy, but nevertheless, he's really a welterweight too. So we don't really. It was a hard thing to gauge. That was my point.
Yeah, I don't know. At junior middleweight, forget Jermell Charlo. Could you imagine Danny Garcia having to face a guy like Sebastian Fundora?
That's my guy. That's my guy.
Terrible fight. Right. In the immortal words of Duke, he's all wrong
he's
for
all wrong for
yeah,
baby.
so I don't know.
He's like a big Navarrete.
Very big. Right. And so, look, that fight right there, I kept waiting for Benavidez to get out of it, but that's what he is at this point. I don't think he has a third or fourth gear. Mario, I thought it was a terrible stoppage in the Russell Barthelemy fight.
So did I. I thought Bartholomew actually had him hurt a couple times.
Buzzed him twice.
Right. He was in that fight. And I was like, wait a second. My guy was up at the count of 3. He nodded. What else is he supposed to do? What else is he supposed to do? I did a little digging. Apparently, he's had another controversial stoppage before.
You mean Shada, or is it Shady Murdaugh, the referee?
I'm always usually leaning towards the side of the ref. Better to err on the side of caution. But at the same time, it is a fight. You got to let the guy have a chance. He didn't work that hard to get to call it that quick. That was very disappointing.
Context matters. It's one thing if a fighter's hurt and knocked down in the 10th and final round of a fight he's already taken a beating.
Absolutely.
This fight was actually pretty close.
Really close.
Bartholomew, who's not always the most exciting fighter, but with his long, lanky arms and his ability to have a little bit of twitch, he buzzed Russell in the first and I believe the 4th or 5th round. And you're thinking, this is kind of interesting. And, this is the second straight fight in a row for Russell where the stoppage was something you're like, the Victor Postal fight.
Right.
I thought that was a political decision, and this one here I thought was very, very suspicious. Look,
disappointing.
Russell's a good fighter, but he was being tested in ways he had never been tested before, and I absolutely agree with Bartholomew's trainer, my good friend out of Miami, Orlando Cuellar. I haven't seen him in a while. He was incensed, and you know what? For a guy like Bartholomew, you don't get another 10 chances. And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get the rematch.
That's unfortunate because he deserved at least to
fight it out.
To fight it out. The opportunity to see what would happen.
And Mario, Adam Kownacki, I don't care if he would have won, lost, or draw. Just looking at the way he was reacting towards punches and the way his head was getting snapped back time and time again, not only do I think that he should take time off, I think retirement's the best course of action.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. We were talking before the show. It's weird how one fight can change your life and the trajectory of your career. Cepeda, who fought Josue Vargas after that fight, who came in very cocky and confident, and after that that knockout, never the same, and then just got knocked out again recently. So, yeah, one fight can do, and I think that's what happened with Kownacki.
And it wasn't just Hellenius. The Chris Arreola fight, we had Joe Goosen in here a couple months ago, and he said, wait a minute, we stretched him to a point. That guy's never been the same.
Right.
Now, I want to question his management. Kownacki could have been the guy to fill in for Jarrell Miller instead of Andy Ruiz to face Anthony Joshua, turning down, I believe, a $5 million plus package.
Bad move.
Recently, Kownacki was also offered another 7-figure package to face Derek Chisora. But for some reason, they kept saying, no, we're going to go our own way. How'd that work out?
This management, man.
Absolutely. It's malpractice. Malpractice.
Oof, that's sad.
Yeah, so congratulations to Marizin, who was steady. And Kownacki got off to a quick start after 2 rounds. It was over at that point. By the 5th, 6th rounds, you kind of saw where this was going.
Absolutely.
Moving on, the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. Mario, whatever plans you had for the garden party this Saturday at Madison Square Garden, you can cancel them now because the Jake Paul Hasim Rahman card, all of it has been absolutely scrapped. It's a he said, she said thing with Hasim Rahman saying, well, I signed the contract, but I couldn't make weight, so let's just do another weight, while Jake Paul saying, no, the weight is the weight. Who do you blame here?
Okay. A few things. The social media presence regarding the fight is probably way more entertaining than the fight would have been.
I agree.
Anyway, I think a couple things. Look, you signed the contract. You have to honor it. It's not like this fight date just crept up on you. Yesterday, he had months that he was aware, and I'm actually shocked that he wasn't he wasn't at least close to the weight, too, at least reportedly.
I'm shocked he even agreed to it.
Exactly. I'm shocked, number one, he agreed to it, and I'm shocked, number two, that he was nowhere even close. So I don't know if his strategy was, I'm going to try to shame him. He'll have to take it. Obviously, that didn't work. On the flip side of that coin, if you hear my friend Dana White, in his assessment, I thought he made a lot of sense, too. He says it costs $500,000 just to turn the lights on in Madison Square Garden. Okay? That was a bold move for them to have it there anyway, in that it was, allegedly, not trending in the right direction, and they hadn't sold many tickets, and the streaming hadn't been. Now, keep in mind, Dana's old accountant is now, I guess, the manager / promoter.
It's got sources.
Interesting. Jake Paul. So he was he had some words to say about that. And look, so it may be a little of that, and maybe he wasn't as close to weight. There was also rumors that he wouldn't accept the dive. I don't know about all that, but we do know that the weight was definitely. So I think him being not on weight was actually a blessing in disguise for Paul and them. If in fact those financial, because then they would have lost their butt, Kim, and that might have been the end of an era.
Yeah,
because I don't know if they've ever, to quote Tiger King, I don't think they would have ever financially recovered.
Yeah, look,
Tiger King quote.
Was Jake Paul trying to drain Rahman Jr.? Of course he was. The deck is stacked. But you got into the deal.
He always fights guys that are about 30 pounds lighter than him anyway.
Right, and basketball players and MMA guys who just kind of pack it in.
We're really wrestlers.
But Rahman knew what he was getting into.
Right.
And I thought it was fascinating to see the social media firestorm between fighters and other fighters. And
what was the general consensus, did you find?
I think most people are blaming Rahman. Bottom line, you signed the contract.
That's exactly
you
right.
knew what you're getting into.
You're right.
But I thought it was interesting that Rahman, Ishe Smith, Jamel Herring, and our old friend Ryan Garcia was like Chinese checkers. Everyone's kind of at war with each other, hopping over each other. I enjoyed it. Rahman Jr. had a kill shot on Ryan Garcia. I was like, whoa, you went there.
Smith entertaining, too.
He was. My view is this. As a fighter, you have to know your own body. Look, Rahman Jr. is a legitimate 225, 230-pound man. I believe that
but they sparred before, too. There's a history there. So, it's not a good look not being able to make weight, and especially when you sign the contract, and especially against an opponent like Jake Paul. People are going to point fingers, and then Jake Paul gets to say you're scared. It's just all the way around.
Jake Paul's going so far as to say I could beat Canelo because I saw what B-Ball did.
No, he said his style is like Dimitri Bivol. My God.
To paraphrase from the 1988 vice presidential election.
I know Dimitri Bivol.
I know Dimitri Bivol, young man. You are no Dimitri Bivol. I think that was directed at Al Gore or something like that, or one of those guys. I got to get my political things straight. Moving on. This is a fight that will happen next Saturday night from Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas on the DAZN. It's the return of welterweight contender Vergil Ortiz taking on Brit Michael Mckinson. Also on this card, Mo Hooker takes on Blair the Flair Cobbs, and Marlon Esparza defends her titles against Ava Guzman. Mario, as we tape right now on a Monday, Vergil Ortiz is having no health issues. I think he's actually going to fight this time.
Good. I like that. Look, before that, we used to call Vergil Ortiz Mr. Reliable, and he was one of the
low maintenance.
Low maintenance, reliable, one of the blue chip prospects, one of the rising stars at welterweight. Was it in health issue, or I thought it was more of a weight issue?
Well,
or both. The health issue that caused the weight issue that caused the health issue, or vice versa?
They called it rhabdomyolysis.
Right.
And if you look and you kind of like research it, it's brought about from rapid weight loss. So you take that from what you will.
Got it.
No
issues at this point.
Well, at this point, no, but they don't weigh in until Friday. The other issue is, he has not fought in 11 months.
Right.
Knocked out the Mean Machine last August, so it's really 12 now. This is now August 1st as we're taping this. And you look at Vergil Ortiz, 18-0, 18 knockouts, just 24 years old. Mario, I have a question for you. If you were a Golden Boy and you're in charge of this career, he's number one in the WBO, whose champion is Terrence Crawford. He's also number one in the WBA, whose champion is Errol Spence. Should you get past Mckinson and you had your choice of Crawford and Spence, which fight would you make for young Vergil?
Spence. All day. Spence all day. And I actually think they've sparred before. They're both from Dallas area, Dallas-Fort Worth, same thing. And I've actually talked to Vergil, and he said he'd like to fight Spence. But I want that fight all day. And I'll tell you what, I think he's a live dog in that fight. Am I crazy to think, assuming he looks the same this coming week, I actually think it's competitive, and he's a live dog in that fight. Am I crazy?
No, you're not, because Errol is a southpaw, but he's not a slick southpaw.
Right.
He's there to be touched, but at the same time, Errol Spence is an elite fighter. Michael McKinson's interesting.
Vergil has had, before we move on from that subject, Vergil has had, I think, up until this point, I know that many fights, but a pretty impressive resume on those fights.
Look, Mean Machine, Mo Hooker, Mauricio Herrera.
He's seen world-class fighters, I'm telling you. And he's a strong kid who throws a lot of punches, bad intention in all those punches. I don't think he's going to be intimidated. Again, he's familiar with them. There's going to be a lot of pride at stake with the hometown. I actually really like that fight. I'm not saying he's going to win right now, but I think it's very competitive, and I think he's got a shot.
Michael McKinson was on that card a couple of months ago at the Galen Center at USC. I think he fought Alex Martin or somebody. McKinson's undefeated. I think he's got about 20 fights, only 2 knockouts. I think he's going to be on his bicycle. He's going to be moving a lot. I'm not so sure how much of a crowd-pleasing fight this is going to be.
Right.
It almost feels like a step backwards for Vergil Ortiz. But again, he's on the doorstep of a title shot.
Do you agree with me with the Spence choice?
Yes, absolutely. Because one thing about Crawford, he's such a neutralizer.
Right.
He's the most adaptable, adjustable fighter in the game.
He's the best.
And from a fan standpoint, which fight is going to have more bloodshed and punches thrown? It's the one with Spence.
Sure.
And there's also a backstory, you're right, with that Lone Star State rivalry. They both grew up in the same Vivero gym.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's a lot to be there. But again, should they make this fight, now it's up to Golden Boy to pull the trigger and tell one of these sanctioning bodies, hello, we're next in line. They're doing a lot of babysitting here with guys like Jaime Munguia and Ryan Garcia. Also, on ESPN Plus from Belfast, Northern Ireland, it's the return of Irish Michael Conlan taking on veteran Miguel Marriaga. The last time we saw Conlan, for 10-11 rounds, he looked great. I thought he was putting on a career-best performance, looked like he was going to be a world champion, and then, boom, he got knocked literally through the ropes. Now, you want to talk about psychological damage.
What a fight.
I want to see how Michael Conlan looks rebounding off of this.
I agree. I think, wasn't he at Wild Card recently? Or they had posted a picture? Was that an old picture?
No, I think that's an old picture.
That's an old
he
picture.
started his career actually with Manny Robles.
Yes. But I know he spent some time at Wild Card there too. You're right. He seemed to be in good spirits, and he seemed to be to have his wits about him, and that he had just got caught. It wasn't like he had gotten bludgeoned throughout the fight, and then it was a great fight. And like you said, he was in it, and he was competitive, winning perhaps. But then, boom, got caught. But it was a hell of a shot that he got caught with, and it's going to be. We're going to find out. We just talked about how one fight can change your life. We'll see if this is the case. You know, if you're going to get, you never want to get knocked out, but if you're going to get knocked out, you want it to be getting caught in one shot, maybe just in recover as opposed to an accumulation.
Yeah.
Because you have a much better chance of bouncing back. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds, but I'm rooting for him. He's a nice kid.
Yes, very nice young man. And as of right now, Lee Wood, Michael Conlan, that's my, at least, male fight of the year for 2022. Okay. News and notes here. Seniesa Estrada, it was made official. We can reveal it now. It's been announced. She has signed with Top Rank. Look for her to make her debut in November.
She was very secretive last time.
Very secretive.
Even though we knew it was essentially going down. Very secretive. I see she still takes jabs at Marlon Esparza. But,
man, they don't like each other.
Yeah,
they don't like
that's real then, huh?
That is. And look,
but Marlon's still a Golden Boy girl, so it doesn't look like they'll
God, here's the issue.
You know what I mean? I wanted to see that again.
And by the way, Golden Boy, I don't know if it's strategic or not or just a coincidence. They're starting to sign female fighters right around that same weight class. So I'm thinking, oh, geez, we better not have the politics here. We better not have the politics.
Which makes that move interesting.
It does, but hopefully Seniesa Estrada can get the fights that she wants under any banner, under any network. All right, we come back on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. We wrap it up with Ask Mario and Final Flurries. And we're back on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. Steve Kim, Mario Lopez, talking all things boxing and beyond. Let's go to the Ask Mario segment of this fine program. Here's one from Kwamega Man. Out of all the boxers, past and present, who would you use as a personal trainer?
You mean any boxer alive? Who would he use?
Dead or alive? Past
Dead
or
or
present?
alive? That's a big one. As a personal trainer.
Rocky.
No.
Marciano? You know what? I'm going to go Canelo because
Canelo.
Who's more disciplined than my guy Canelo, and he's always there. And I know he'd motivate me and make me train hard, even if I didn't feel up to it. He leads by example. You know what I mean?
Good choice.
I like the discipline. I like the consistency. I'm gonna have to go.
All right, speaking of discipline, the most disciplined human being I've ever met, I'd either go with Bernard Hopkins because my diet would be on point.
My style's not like Bernard's.
Yeah.
It'd be more like Canelo. That's why I'm only saying that.
Or marvelous Marvin Hagler.
You're not a southpaw.
Because he'd take me to jail, though. It's the mindset, man. It's the mindset.
You're not a southpaw. It's not going to do you any good. Okay,
I'm not much of a right-hander either.
That's true.
Here's one from Jose Jr. Mario, what's the last fight you attended as a paying customer and not hookups from Oscar or Uncle Dana?
Or Uncle Bob.
Yeah.
Or Uncle...
Uncle Eddie Hearn.
Eddie. That I bought a ticket for?
Yeah. That's decades.
The real question is, do you remember 1989?
Yeah. You stumped him.
I can't tell you. Like, well, no, because you know, hanging around the gyms and knowing people, you get friendly with them, and then they'll offer you stuff. And then
I've actually,
you haven't either, fool.
I've
you
actually
paid forever.
No, but I've actually bought tickets for friends for certain fights as birthday gifts.
I buy pay-per-views all the time.
Yes, you do.
I buy pay-per-views, so that's my contribution.
Yes, you do.
All the time.
And you also
I host them at my house.
Yes, you do.
So I do all the time. I buy the pay-per-views all the time. For actual tickets, usually if I'm going, I'm getting hooked up, or else I'll just buy
you're
the
Mario
pay-per-view.
Lopez. You're Mario
It's
Lopez.
not that. It's just like I'll know somebody, whatever. I do enjoy seeing it at the house, but there's nothing like it in person. Yeah.
Here's one from Christian. Who would you pick to win if Teofimo and Regis Prograis were to fight each other? By the way, Mario, you're always rocking them fire shirts during the show.
This one's represent today. I don't have a Roots of Fight on
and
today,
there's interesting news on Regis. The WBC has called for that vacant title to be contested between him and Sean Zepeda.
I love that.
So,
okay, a little insight on that. I love that, by the way. And supposedly, Jose Ramirez
getting married
and does not want
in October
to him. But my man, I would have postponed that wedding if you get a shot at the title and it came to
Mario,
me.
didn't I
the
tell
wife
you,
would have understood.
Mario, didn't I tell you a couple of weeks ago that he seems to be kind of exiting out of the business?
Look, and especially his style. He's a hard worker. He's a guy.
Which is his right, by the way.
Sure, and God bless him. But when you get a shot at the title, I think you got to financial reasons, and there's not that many opportunities, as we say.
Business is business.
Business is business, and you got to take it. You got to take advantage of that. Be that as, and I like Ramirez, and I respect him. He's had a hell of a career. Be that as it may, this was an excellent choice between Prograis and Zepeda, two guys who I think deserve the shot at the title. I like both fighters, both professionally and personally. And ironically, I was with Julian Chua this morning, who trains both fighters.
The Asian sensation.
And he told me, which I admired, that he's stepping back and told both fighters that he's not going to train either of them for this fight. And he's
doing the Chuck Bodak.
And I respect that.
Chuck Bodak did that for a De La Hoya fight.
Exactly. But he was a cut man. I think this is different because I go, you know what? That's admirable, man, because you're leaving money on the table there. So I didn't even ask who he got
Angelo
first.
Dundee did that too.
Yeah.
For a Muhammad Ali fight against Jimmy Ellis, I believe.
Yeah, and so that's great. So it's admirable. So Prograis is going to stay in his hometown in New Orleans and train there. And Zepeda is going to continue to train with his brother out here. So I thought that was really cool of Julian to do that. With that said, I think that's a very even fight, man. That's a very even fight. And the thing about Zepeda, he's deceptive with his power. My guy's got like 32 fights, but 27 knockouts. He can crack. And if you look at his two losses, his first one was a very controversial TKO where he broke his shoulder.
Popped out.
And popped out in the first round. And Alcazar was his trainer at the time, tried to snap it back in and went out there and he had to stop. So that's not a real TKO.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. And the other one was a controversial loss against Jose Ramirez
in Fresno.
In his hometown of Fresno. So he's theoretically undefeated, really. And Prograis, his only loss is a majority split decision to Josh Taylor at his peak. So these two guys are elite. It's going to be
top 5 guys.
Top
no
5
doubt
guys.
about it.
Really? I think those are it's safe to say top 2 and they deserve this shot. Very 50-50 fight.
Jose Zepeda speaks softly, but he carries a big stick.
He's also the kind of guy, he's like the Chargers. And this is a weird comparison, but he sort of rises.
You mean he doesn't make the playoffs either?
You're so stupid.
Sorry.
You're so stupid. He sort of rises to the level of his competition.
He does.
If he's got a fighter
Remember
that he's
against
dangerous,
Hank Lundy?
Exactly.
He was sleepwalking for 6 rounds. Like, hey, get going here, brother.
Exactly. But when he knows he has a dangerous opponent in front of him, he trains hard, he focuses, and it brings out a better fighter in him. So I can't wait for this fight.
I'm very thankful on the behalf of Prograis because he was getting into Bolivian territory.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, wow, you're fighting in empty tennis stadiums in Saudi Arabia. These fights are just keeping you busy, but there's no career arc.
No, I'm really happy for both guys. Now, this wasn't the original question. Teofimo Lopez, we're going to see how he looks.
Next week, the 13th.
Week, and then I can answer that question. But you know how I feel about that kid. I'm high on him. And I actually, assuming he doesn't have he's fine mentally and everything, I think he could be even better at 140. I think
at his best, he is still a blue chip marquee elite fighter. It's all up here.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
I
the
think
technical
even at 140,
of
he's not going to be killing himself. He'll remain just as fast. He'll be even stronger.
Here's a question from Corey Ferguson. WTF can be done to remedy poor officiating and refereeing? Can networks decline fights if certain judges are contacted? How can I become a judge? My eyes work. Well, I think you're talking about Shady Shada Murdaugh and the judge that had the Benavidez Garcia fight a draw. Waleska rolled on. I'm not so sure what a network can do, because here's the problem: if networks start meddling into that, now they're overstepping their bounds.
Of course, it's the promoter.
No, I think it's the commission.
I guess the commission
is my biggest
too.
problem.
I think they're both. I think they're both responsible though too.
A lot of judges and officials are political appointees, and this goes far beyond boxing. They either know somebody. Look, we've known of judges for years. And you can Google them. You can go on BoxRec. They've had a lot of questionable things, but they're kept on. And everyone wants to blame the commissioner, like Mark Ratner, for years. It was out of his hands.
Sure.
This thing goes so far up and beyond what we think is just boxing or the commission.
They're like Supreme Court judges. Once they're in there,
right, they're in.
Get them out.
They're in.
That's it.
And they have less accountability, which is kind of scary.
Right.
And look, you look at Roldan, just Google her scores, and there's certain things you're like, ugh. You're like, yeah. And there's an old phrase that I learned from a boxing insider years ago about certain judges and referees. Judges judge for tomorrow. Fighters fight for today. Just keep that in mind. Moving on to final flurries. All right, Mario. You got your hand raised in victory. You came out a winner. This is your last one, right? No more.
Listen, first of all.
No.
No. I just want to talk about the experience for a second. I don't know what my crazy ass was doing. Those guys were tough. Props, tip of the hat to the opponents. Very skilled, very technical, tough guys. I'm really happy that I got to compete out there and ended up winning. And it's funny, I did better as I got along, as I got more tired. I think I was just more relaxed, and I felt the other guys getting a little bit tired, so the conditioning came into play and stuff. But it's tough, man, when you got a lot of eyes looking at you all the time and you got to still perform. I was used to it wrestling as a kid, but still as an adult, and a lot going on. But I love martial arts, and I love jiu-jitsu, and the fact that constantly makes you think and grow, and you're always learning, and the physical fitness aspect for it. But I definitely checked it off the bucket list, and I was stressed with the moving and the work and everything, and having to take that on and making weight. Making weight sucks. Even when you get older, you still got to make weight. I don't have to cut too much, but still being aware of it. It's nothing's fun about making weight. So with that said, yes, I think so. It was one of those gosh, I want to test myself with the Worlds, and I got invited to go with the World stuff. You might be punching me in the face, but I think I should end on this note, right? I should end on. Tell me, that's where you're my friend. You're supposed to tell me, yeah, end on this note.
This has Tom Brady vibes.
No, tell me I'm supposed to end on this note.
This has Tom Brady vibes.
You're not telling me you're supposed to end on this note.
I think the note is going to be him punching you in the face.
Yeah.
No. I think that's
my note is right hand or left hook. I don't really.
No. I think that's good. So I'm feeling good.
You said you're not good with either hand.
That's good. That's true. So that's why I'm thinking that touches. I'll be right with it. I'm gonna roll with it. No. I feel good about it. It was a great experience. So thank you very much. I'm sore as we speak right now. A little beat up, but it was worth it, and it was fun, man. I'm glad I did.
And that's it.
Yeah, as of right now. See,
as of right now. See
that
right there. That's right. I see
that's it.
right there.
No, that's it. Look, I fought in smokers. I did the IBJJF. I did the jiu-jitsu. I did all that. There's one. I'm only telling. I'm done with that. There was one fight that they wanted me to do no-gi style against Kelly Slater, the surfer.
Oh, AC Slater against Kelly
I think
Slater.
That's
Whoa!
But I think that,
hold on, wait a minute.
Different.
I like
that's
that
different, right? That's like a super fight. That's different. That's what they want to call it. Whatever.
That's gimmicky.
That's no, but it'll be real.
Yeah. No, I know, but I mean, it's kind of a gimmicky thing because it's another celebrity.
But again, we're talking a world-class athlete, one of the best athletes ever. So it's not like he's a punk or anything. But unless it's something like that, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather style,
leaving a crack of the door open.
By the way, Kelly Slater though. But as far as the competitions. That might, but Kelly Slater, he's really into jiu-jitsu, and he's decorated. Oh yeah, he's not like he's just started. He's very much into it. He surfs and rolls and all that. And then on a side note, he's one of my all-time favorite athletes. To me, he's like on the Mount Rushmore of great athletes. My guy has been the world-class top surfer for like 3-4 decades. Do you know
that
how hard?
Really?
Do you know how hard that is? Think about it. Since the 90s. So what is that? 90s? 3 decades. That's yes, dude. He's the top. He's like the Michael Jordan of surfing. That's hard.
Did you get a trophy
Pardon me?
Did you get a
medal.
trophy?
Medal.
Medal.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
They
good.
don't give swords like your son got?
No, on the wrestling thing. They could do. Someone get swords and helmets.
And
It's crazy.
speaking of mixed martial arts, give us a rundown. UFC 277 sounded eventful.
So on the heels of winning the tournament, we all went to this restaurant bar, and they had the fight there, which was awesome. They didn't even charge extra, which is great. And it was playing there the whole. So I was eating and drinking way too much, as one does after a fight and weighing in. And the whole card was solid, unbelievable card. Which I heard the whole card on Showtime was dreary and uneventful. And I just, like I mentioned earlier, I thought it was funny to see Crawford and Tyson there. But from Brandon Moreno, kid from Tijuana, coming back and knocking out with a liver shot, Kai France from Australia, it was so impressive. And every matchup in the UFC is Crawford versus Errol Spence, is Pacquiao versus Mayweather, is De La Hoya versus Trinidad. Every matchup is number 1 versus number 2, the way it's supposed to be. That's what makes it so damn entertaining. We are so spoiled by that. If you're a fan of combat sports, if you watch both UFC and boxing like I do, you get so frustrated with boxing because it's doing itself such a disservice. But then again, my guy Dana has such a monopoly on the sport. You get that. So Brandon's fight was great. The heavyweight fight was great with the Beast and that crazy Russian who knocked him out from Dagestani. I can't remember his name. And then the heavyweight female fight. My God, Nunes came back and took the belt back from Juliana Peña. And I've never seen such a dominating 5-round fight be so competitive, if that makes any sense. She was so tough and had her in so many different bloody, gory. It was a mess. It was such a great card. It was like bravo to everyone involved there. You would have liked it.
Couple of notes. If the UFC had Crawford Spence, they'd be on Chapter 3. Bottom line, they'd be on their third fight.
No, Chapter 3 would have been over 2 years ago.
Okay, they'd be on Chapter 5.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing is how easy it was for
Every week. Yeah.
Also, the fact you're able to watch the UFC card so easily, didn't have to call 15 different people. I'm going to make this point again. The UFC and Dana White do because I've done a story on this. They do a much better job of doing their closed circuit and selling packages to bars and restaurants. Yeah. Boxing, I've heard over and over again, it's too damn expensive.
And you're exactly right. And you know what I was noticing too, Kim? Because I was cognizant the last time we watched the fights, they were coming in no more than like 5 minutes. They were coming in and out.
We didn't get to talk about it last time, but last time I was at your house, we're watching UFC. I actually, I timed it out. Basically, from the time that the fight ends, not even the interviews with Joe Rogan, but from the time the fight ends, it's generally about 17 to 20 minutes.
And that's including the interviews. They haven't even they're out of the octagon, and by the time they get back in, you're right, it flies.
It took Showtime from the time they went on air at 6 p.m. Pacific time this past weekend, 20 minutes just to get round 1 in. Oh, man. Boxing needs to hurry it up. And people say, Steve, why are you worried? Easy, because I think you're turning people off. The audience actually matters.
Of course.
But going back to UFC, when there's any type of pay-per-view card, whether it's the biggest or mid-level, it's easy to find. You can go to a lot of different places with your friends or family and watch it. When it comes to boxing, I find myself, it's almost like finding a needle in a haystack because, as Dana White has said before, I want to make this for the long-term play, that I want to sell this event, and I want to take a little bit of money. And again, you could say what you want about how he pays his guys. That's not even the issue right now. He makes his product much more available. Problem with boxing, they make everything into a going out of sale.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. It hasn't worked.
He has more of an NFL model.
Yeah.
Where on Sundays,
it's the Shield.
But in his case, on Saturdays, it's about the Shield, and you're going to see a lot of great games, aka great fights, all day, no matter what. You're tuning in because you know you're going to see great fights or great matchups like you do in the NFL. They need to start taking a page from that quickly, because I think little by little, I'm not saying boxing's it's gonna start dying, but
they've already cut into it.
It's already cut into it.
We have to be honest about it.
It's gonna put into life support too, because again, UFC, because so many have such a grappling background, it cancels each other out, and it's a lot more of a stand-up fight now too.
Think about this.
So you're getting boxing essentially too.
Both Top Rank and UFC have a relationship with ESPN/ABC/Disney, right? Aren't UFC cards kind of on ABC once in a while now?
Yep.
Haven't seen boxing on there. Anyway, moving on. This Thursday, I'll be seeing you right around, 6 or 7? We're going to Tom Loeffler's card at the Quiet Cannon in Montebello, the Harvard. No, the Bel Air of East L.A.
Which ironically is playing on UFC Fight Pass.
Yes.
So they still have some fights right there. Dana's going to be there as well. And the last show was a great show. Thought very evenly matched fights.
Tom does a good job.
The crowd was very energized. He kept it moving. Tom did a great job. So shout out to Loeffler.
Tom's a real promoter.
Really like
Tom
him.
can do it at the upper level. He could do it at the lower level.
Yep.
He could build. And Callum Walsh, that Irishman, the young Irish lad, that guy can fight.
He can fight.
He's got really good
training
tools.
over there at Freddie Roach.
Yes, good speed, good quickness, a good look. Dana White seems to be kind of in on Callum.
He's into him, yes.
So I kind of like it. And look, I haven't been out there. I'm going to be out there. We'll get some dinner. You know, they have a good bar over there. Anyway, Quiet Cannon is famous. Yeah, Quiet Cannon, that golf course is famous because that's Fernando Valenzuela's favorite golf course.
Really?
He's been there at least 1,000 times. So Fernando Mania. Orale. Anyway, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smokin' Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino on the edits. Goodbye, everybody.